Imagine waking up one morning and something feels different. You can't quite place it at first. The street outside looks normal. Cars are honking, dogs are barking, somebody's already mowing their lawn way too early. But then you tilt your head back, and it hits you. The sky is empty. Not just, oh, I don't see a plane right now, empty. Empty, empty. No contrails carving lines across the blue. No faint rumble of jet engines overhead. Just silence. And then you check your phone. A single headline sits at the top of every news site. All flights grounded worldwide. Airports across every time zone have gone dark. No departures, no arrivals. Just rows and rows of blinking red letters spelling one word over and over: canceled. The biggest, most reliable machine humanity has ever built, global air travel, has stopped cold. At first, it feels surreal, like the world is holding its breath. Some people joke about it, treating it like a snow day. Guess I'm not going into the office today, one guy posts on Twitter, already halfway back to bed. But the silence doesn't just stay in the sky, it trickles into daily life. That neighbor who always complains about airport noise? He's suddenly spooked by how quiet it is. Pilots who spend their lives above the clouds are pacing their kitchens, grounded like everyone else. And sure, part of you might even think it's peaceful. No roaring engines, no 5 a.m. departures shaking you awake. Just calm. But it doesn't take long for that calm to twist into something stranger. Because you know deep down, this isn't normal. It isn't planned. It isn't safe. Everywhere you look, people are asking the same questions. What happened? How long will this last? And what does a world without planes even look like? At first, people think it's just another delay. Airports are built on excuses: weather, crew timing out, technical difficulties that sound suspiciously vague. But then an hour passes, then 2, and the announcement boards don't budge. Every single flight across the world is marked canceled. No exceptions. Airports turn from waiting rooms into holding pens. In New York's JFK, thousands of people slump into plastic chairs, recharging phones at half-broken outlets. In London's Heathrow, families curl up on their luggage like makeshift beds. In Singapore's Changi, usually one of the most luxurious airports on the planet, businessmen in suits are sprawled across the floor like college kids at a sleepover. 10 million people are stranded instantly. 10 million. That's like the entire population of Sweden, suddenly stuck in terminals with bad Wi-Fi and overpriced sandwiches. And it's not just humans. Packages are trapped, too. Your Amazon order, your grandma's birthday gift, that guaranteed overnight delivery, all frozen on the ground. Perishables, forget it. Crates of fresh salmon for sushi restaurants in Los Angeles, spoiling in Tokyo. Roses meant for Valentine's Day, wilting in Amsterdam. Some poor couple's romantic gesture has already turned into compost. The medical world feels it fastest. Organs meant for transplant can't wait 12 extra hours. Critical blood plasma shipments can't sit in a cargo hold. For hospitals, planes aren't a luxury. They're lifelines. And right now, every lifeline is tangled. Meanwhile, the economy wobbles like a Jenga tower in slow motion. Airlines bleed money by the minute. Cargo companies lose millions in contracts. Even the stock market twitches, because when global trade stutters, investors start sweating through their ties. Somewhere, a CEO is screaming into their Bluetooth headset, demanding answers no one has. And yet, in the middle of all this chaos, people still find ways to complain about the small stuff. Someone's yelling at a gate agent like she personally grounded the planes. Another guy is pacing the food court, furious that the Panda Express closed early. Humanity doesn't change. We just get louder when we're trapped. The first hours are about panic. But as the day drags on, something stranger begins to happen. The world doesn't just stop moving, it starts bending in ways nobody expected. Tourism is the most obvious victim. Cities built on constant arrivals suddenly feel hollow. In Paris, hotel staff pace empty lobbies, while Eiffel Tower vendors stare at racks of keychains no one's buying. On the other side of the planet, in Bali, tourists are stuck on what should be paradise. At first, they brag online, "Guess I live here now." But by hour 18, it's less tropical dream, more Survivor, all-inclusive edition. But culture takes a hit too. That massive music festival in Seoul, headliners still in New York. Broadway's touring cast of Hamilton, grounded in Chicago. Even sports grind to a halt. Soccer fans in Europe scream at TVs as half their teams can't make away games. Imagine explaining to millions of fans that the championship's postponed because everyone's sitting in Terminal 4. Even politics can't escape. World leaders who were supposed to fly in for urgent summits are suddenly stuck in their home countries. Diplomacy doesn't look quite as serious when presidents are dialing into Zoom meetings in sweatpants. Global decision-making slows to a crawl, and for once, the fate of nations depends on who has the best Wi-Fi connection. Then come the social ripples. People who rely on flights for their identities. Jet-setting influencers, road warrior salespeople, expats far from home, suddenly feel trapped. For a generation used to constant motion, a single day of stillness feels unbearable. Memes flood the internet. Someone starts a hashtag, Dahak's Flightless Day, where stranded travelers share their weirdest airport survival stories. One video goes viral of a guy turning an entire baggage carousel into a treadmill. That's the thing about humanity. We adapt, but not quietly. When air travel halts, it doesn't just break business and shipping. It seeps into entertainment, politics, and even our sense of who we are in a connected world. And for one surreal day, everything that usually runs on time runs out of air. When you strip away the big numbers and the headlines, the real heart of this day isn't in boardrooms or airports. It's in the people stuck in between. Because behind every grounded flight, there's a story that suddenly took a sharp left turn. Think about weddings. Somewhere in Italy, a bride is standing in front of her guests, smiling through tears because her parents are stranded in Chicago. They're fumbling with their phones in an airport terminal, trying to FaceTime the ceremony over bad Wi-Fi while a janitor's vacuum drowns out the vows. Or funerals. Someone's grandmother passes away and the family's scattered across continents. For them, a canceled flight isn't an inconvenience. It's a moment they'll never get back, the kind of silence you can't put a price on. Then there are migrant workers, the people who prop up entire economies. They spend months away from home, saving money, and their one chance to hug their kids is that flight back. One day grounded means another month, maybe two, before they get to see their families. For them, this isn't global disruption. It's personal heartbreak. But for every tragedy, there's absurdity. Honeymooners in Hawaii discover their romantic getaway just got extended, whether they can afford it or not. A college student on spring break is suddenly stuck in Cancun with $27 left in his checking account. And of course, influencers in Bali flood TikTok with videos titled "Stranded in Paradise." Their followers aren't sure whether to feel sympathy or just roll their eyes. And then there's Vegas. Somewhere, a guy who promised his boss he was only flying out for one night is now sending the most awkward email of his career. "Funny story, I might not make it back Monday." It's messy, emotional, and sometimes ridiculous. But that's humanity in a nutshell. We plan, we schedule, we move. And when all of that grinds to a halt, we're left with nothing but our stories. Some heartbreaking, some hilarious, all stitched together by one strange, silent day. While humanity scrambles in airports and hotel lobbies, the Earth itself reacts very differently. For the planet, this isn't a disaster. It's a deep breath. With every plane on Earth grounded, global carbon emissions nosedive. For decades, commercial aviation has accounted for about 2 to 3% of the world's greenhouse gases. That doesn't sound huge until you realize just how much fuel a single jumbo jet burns on one cross-Atlantic flight. Multiply that by 100,000 flights a day, and suddenly, the skies aren't just noisy, they're heavy. But now, silence. NASA noticed this once before. back in 2001, when flights over the US were grounded after 9/11. For 3 days, contrails vanished. Scientists observed sharper temperature swings between day and night, because without those wispy white streaks trapping heat, the atmosphere breathed differently. It was as if the sky itself had been unclogged. On this global flight-free day, the effect would be massive. Skies are clearer, sunsets burn brighter, stars appear in places where people haven't seen them in decades. Somewhere in Los Angeles, someone actually notices the Milky Way for the first time and posts it on Instagram like they discovered a new constellation. Climate activists would cheer, at least for a moment. One day without planes might only shave a tiny fraction off annual emissions. But it's proof, tangible proof, that change is possible. If a single day makes the skies feel this different, what could a week, a month, or a year do? But then reality comes knocking. Because as much as people love the clean air, nobody is giving up air travel for good. We like our sunsets, sure. But we also like Bali and Cancun. And being able to visit grandma without hitching a ride on a container ship. You think Karen is taking a rowboat to Disney World? Not happening. So yes, the Earth enjoys its one-day spa treatment. The air feels lighter, the skies glow cleaner, and humanity gets a fleeting look at what less pollution could mean. And then, almost as quickly as it started, the engines roar back to life. As wild as a flightless world sounds, we've actually had small glimpses of it before. Not the whole planet, not for very long, but just enough to show how fragile our system really is. Take September 2001. After the attacks on 9/11, the US did something unprecedented. It grounded every single commercial plane for 3 days. 3 days. For the first time since the Wright brothers, America's skies went silent. People looked up and saw nothing. No contrails, no distant roar of jet engines, just blue. Some described it as eerie, others as peaceful, but everyone knew it wasn't normal. Scientists later studied that gap and found changes in temperature swings across the country. Even nature noticed the absence. Then there was 2010, when a volcano in Iceland erupted. And not just any volcano, Eyjafjallajökull. Yes, the one no one can pronounce without spraining their tongue. That ash cloud spread across Europe like an ink spill, shutting down air travel for nearly a week. Millions of passengers stranded, airlines losing billions. European trains suddenly became the hottest tickets in town. And grocery stores, they started sweating. Perishable goods rotted in warehouses. Sushi restaurants across Europe ran out of fish. Even Kenyan flower farmers saw their entire harvest wither because the roses couldn't be flown to European markets. And these weren't just inconveniences, they were lessons. Short-term shutdowns ripple farther than anyone expects. People missed weddings, jobs, funerals, hospitals scrambled, entire industries bent under the pressure. And all of this happened from regional shutdowns. Not even a full global halt. Imagine multiplying those ripples to every corner of the planet, all at once. Even one single day would echo for weeks. The economy would stumble, people's lives would be rearranged, and stories from that one day would be told for decades. Just like people still remember where they were on 9/11, or the time their flight was canceled by a volcano with a name that looks like someone smashed a keyboard. So here's the big question. Could this actually happen? Could the skies really go quiet? Everywhere, all at once? The most obvious suspect is geopolitics. Imagine a massive global conflict or a coordinated security threat. One domino falls, then another, until governments start slamming their airspace shut. It wouldn't take long before the entire flight map looked like somebody hit delete. Every country's borders locked, every jet parked nose to tail on the tarmac. But you don't need a war to shut down the skies. All it takes is technology. Picture a coordinated cyber attack aimed at air traffic control. Planes themselves are fine, but the systems guiding them are scrambled beyond trust. Nobody's risking 300 tons of steel without radar, GPS, and communication. The order would be immediate. Stay grounded until we're sure it's safe. Suddenly, the most advanced form of transportation on Earth is powerless against a keyboard. Then there's nature, always waiting for its chance to remind us who's boss. A supervolcano like Yellowstone erupts, filling the sky with ash. Not a week of flight delays like Eyjafjallajökull, but months, maybe years, of grounded aircraft. Or a massive solar storm slams into Earth's magnetosphere, frying GPS satellites and turning every cockpit into a glorified road trip without directions. You think pilots are calm now? Take away their navigation, and they're just guys with expensive walkie-talkies. And then, of course, there's the wild card: policy. Some climate activists have floated the idea of a flight-free day as a symbolic act, a chance to give the Earth a breather. In theory, it sounds inspiring. In practice, good luck telling 8 billion people they can't visit Cancun because the planet needs a nap. Someone's already drafting a furious Facebook post about their right to Margaritaville. So yes, it could happen. Through politics, technology, nature, or policy, the skies could go silent. But here's the twist. If it ever did, it wouldn't feel like a thought experiment. It would feel like the world hit pause on itself. And nobody knows what would happen when we press play again. When the skies fall silent, even for one day, the world feels different. At first, it's an inconvenience. Missed flights, canceled plans, delayed packages. But look closer, and it reveals something deeper. Just how fragile our routines really are. Because air travel isn't just about vacations and Instagram-worthy getaways. It's about the organs carried across continents in coolers, the parents flying home to hold their children, the workers building a life for their families half a world away. It's business meetings, supply chains, culture, politics, all carried on the wings of machines that crisscross the skies every second of every day. Ground them, and suddenly we're reminded of something uncomfortable. The modern world is stitched together by flight. Every connection we take for granted, food on our shelves, loved ones an ocean away, even the global economy itself, rests on those contrails cutting through the sky. And yet, there's a strange beauty in the thought. For one day, humanity is forced to stop moving, to look up at a quiet sky, to sit still. Maybe it would drive us crazy. Maybe it would remind us how dependent we are. Or maybe, for just a moment, it would show us that even in silence, the world keeps turning. But when those engines roar back to life the next morning, the lesson lingers. We aren't just passengers on planes. We're passengers on a system that only works as long as it keeps flying. So here's the question. Would you be okay with one day of silence in the skies? Or would it prove just how much our lives are built around the freedom of flight? Because whether it's a trip across the country or across the globe, air travel isn't just transportation. It's the bloodstream of modern life. And the thought of it stopping, even for a day, is enough to remind us that travel isn't a luxury. It's the glue that holds the world together. This has been Abroadly. Thanks for traveling with us, even if the skies are quiet. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into the world, and check out our previous video. No one cares about this whole continent, where we explore why Australia doesn't get the attention it deserves.